Welcome to the Saturday Morning Muse. My name is Andy Tempty, and this is Saturday, October the 22nd, 2022. Today, we're going to take a brief look back at last week and our conversation about the difference between being nice and being kind. In that conversation last week, we talked about constructive feedback, constructive criticism as one of the greatest kindnesses that you can provide to your colleagues within the organization. Constructive feedback is very difficult for most of us to engage in. It's a real act of emotional bravery because you're putting yourself out there and you're risking an environment of conflict when many of us just like to make sure that everything is copacetic and nothing changes and everything is happy. And we all know that that is not the case. So constructive feedback, constructive criticism, that's a muscle that you have to exercise and you have to actually engage in doing it to get better. Today, I'd like to expand on our discussion on kindness and introduce two additional great kindnesses that you can provide to your colleagues in your organization. The first kindness is that of listening, and specifically active listening. Active listening takes real work. Many of us in this modern day and age are used to talking over one another and always having something to say and always being on and always making an impact. But sometimes just taking a step back, taking a deep breath and allowing your colleagues to speak and really leaning in and listening carefully to what they have to say, having an agile mind and taking on board new information that may not be totally congruent with your outlook on the world or your outlook in business. Active listening takes a great deal of personal strength to really engage in on a consistent basis. Now, why is this a kindness? It's a kindness because you are giving of yourself with really no expectation of a direct return from that active listening. You're there to learn. You're there to grow from the interaction, having the open ears and a closed mouth. But moreover, what do people in the world of work really want more than anything? They might want a little extra pay. Yes, they might want their personal purpose to align with that of the business. Those are certainly valid things. But a lot of people just want to be heard. They just want to be listened to, and making the time and space for your people to have their voices be heard is a true gift because in many organizations, your chance to get your voice heard is few and far between. So think of active listening as that of the gift that it is. The second kindness that I'd like to introduce today is that of transparency. Now, this may not seem obvious on the surface as a kindness, but if many of us think back to how our businesses are run and the cultures that we live in, many of us have lived in organizations where information is protected like a state secret, or people want to see what's going on in your world, but you don't want to give folks, they're not going to give you that same thing in return. So starting being the person that makes things more transparent so that your colleagues can learn and grow from your experiences in your department, that's a real kindness because you're changing the arc of the culture of the organization. Won't happen overnight. There will still be colleagues that want to hold on to information for their own purposes, for their own power within the organization. But if you can take the first step and start to be more transparent about what's happening within your part of the business, your department, so that people can learn and grow from your experiences, that's going to be that one of those, again, those first steps or that first turn of the flywheel to really improve transparency throughout the organization. Many people don't like to be the first mover because it really exposes them. And again, we talked about an act of personal bravery and being transparent with the good and the bad and the ugly within a department can, as I said, it can be quite scary. But again, over time, building that muscle can be invaluable to a much more positive future culture for your organization. So I hope that today was helpful. Thank you so much for engaging. Thank you so much for listening. Please like, subscribe, share. Remember, we've got the podcast that comes out every Thursday, the Balancing Act podcast, and my book, The Balancing Act, is available at Amazon.com and booksellers near you. Thank you so much.